When we talk about resilience, most of us probably picture someone who can just take a hit and bounce right back, like nothing ever happened. But what if that whole picture is missing the most important part of the story? Well, today we're going to dive into a totally new way of thinking about strength, all based on this really fascinating idea called holistic resilience theory.
Okay, so let's start with what we all kind of know, right? The textbook definition. Resilience, it's that capacity to get through the tough stuff and, restore your mental health. It's always framed as this ability to bounce back. And yeah, that's pretty much where most conversations about this topic start.
But here's the big question that changes everything. What if resilience isn't some fixed trait that you either have or you don't? Like eye color. What if it's actually a journey, a dynamic process that we're all on, where we're constantly adapting and growing?
And that question right there is exactly why a new theory was needed. It's why holistic resilience theory, or HRT for short, was even developed. People started to realize that our old ways of looking at stress and resilience, well, they were helpful, but they were missing some huge pieces of the puzzle.
So if we rewind a bit, a lot of our modern understanding really kicked off with pioneers like Hans Selye. Way back in the 1930s, he gave us this idea of the general adaptation syndrome. You've probably heard of it: alarm, resistance, exhaustion. It was all about how our bodies physically react to stress. Super groundbreaking for its time, but you can see it's very, very physiological.
So what exactly was missing from these early models? Oh, just a few small things, like huge pieces of the puzzle. I mean, they didn't really touch on the power of our culture or the incredible strength we get from our social support systems, and they totally overlooked the fact that how we interpret an event can completely change how we react to it.
And this next part really drives the point home. Check out this number. A survey was done with mental health practitioners all across East and Southern Africa, and a staggering 90% said that the Western models they were taught just didn't fit. They felt like a total cultural mismatch for the communities they were serving. That's a massive signal that something new was desperately needed.
And that need for something new brings us right to the heart of holistic resiliency theory. It's this core concept they call resiliency potential. So what is resilience potential, or RP? Well, think of it as this built-in inherent capacity that every single one of us has to handle challenges. But here are the magic words: dynamic and context. This is not some fixed tank of strength that you can run out of. No, it's more like a living, breathing potential that's constantly being shaped by your unique life and your unique world.
And this diagram here does a fantastic job of showing how that potential gets built. So if you think of your resilience potential as a kind of personal power source, these are the 5 key things that are constantly feeding into it. It's everything from your immediate situation all the way up to your broader culture. Let's break these down. Okay, let's unpack these because they're really important. First, your RP is all about context. I mean, the kind of resilience you need for a work deadline is totally different than what you need for a personal loss, right? Next, it depends on different variables. Sometimes your friends are what get you through. Other times, it's all on your own problem-solving skills. Then, of course, it's about you, your unique history as a person, and the specific situation you're facing. And zooming out, your culture and environment play a massive role in how you even show resilience. And finally, it has to be dynamic. It's got to change and evolve right along with you and the challenges you face.
And that idea of being dynamic is so central to this theory. HRT says resilience isn't just a single event or reaction. No, it's a whole journey. And that journey unfolds across 3 really distinct phases.
Okay, so this is what they call the resilience potential continuum. It basically maps out the whole path, from that initial crisis mode, through adapting, and all the way to long-term growth. But look at that arrow at the bottom. That's the secret sauce: resilience mobility. Think of it like psychological agility. It's your ability to shift gears and move between these different phases when you need to. And trust me, that's the absolute key to not getting stuck.
Let's make this super concrete with an example they use in the research: losing your job. So, phase 1, immediate resilience. That's crisis mode, right? You're doing whatever it takes to survive. Maybe you move in with family, find a part-time gig just to cover the bills. Then you move into ongoing adaptive resilience. This is the grind. You're updating your resume, you're actively applying for jobs, trying to solve the problem. Finally, you might get to strategic resilience. This is the big picture, the long-term plan. You might even decide, you know what, I'm changing careers, and you go take a course to learn new skills.
But what happens if you can't move out of that first phase?
Well, the theory has a very specific and kind of scary name for it: sustained immediate resilience, or SIR. This is a real danger zone. It's when you get stuck in crisis mode, just constantly putting out fires day after day without ever moving forward.
And being stuck in that SIR spiral is really, really bad for you. It's not just about chronic stress or emotional burnout, which are bad enough. It literally messes with your ability to problem solve for the long term, basically trapping you in the present crisis. And maybe worst of all, it can weaken your social connections, pushing away the very people you need to help you get out. So the big takeaway here is that true, healthy resilience isn't just about being tough, it's about being mobile. That resilience mobility we talked about, that's the antidote. It's the skill of shifting fluidly from putting out fires to adapting to planning for the future. That's how you avoid the trap.
Okay, so this all sounds good in theory, right? But the big question is, how do we actually do this? How can we actively build up our own resilience potential? Well, the theory gives us a roadmap with 4 really practical strategies for growth.
And here's the framework they lay out. It's a fantastic visual map for how to think about this. And the key thing to see here is that these aren't just one-off steps in a line. They're 4 interconnected strategies that all work together. It's a whole system for building and restoring your resilience.
So let's do a quick tour of this cycle. You start with preventative resilience. That's all the work you do before a crisis, like strengthening your friendships and community ties. Then, when something tough does happen, you tap into curative resilience, healing and restoring yourself, using support systems that actually make sense for you and your culture. From there, it's about innovative resilience, finding those creative, new solutions to adapt. And at the center of it all, powering everything, is self-resilience. That's you, fostering your own inner strength and growth. See how it's this powerful, proactive loop? All right, so let's boil this all down. What's the big takeaway? First, resilience isn't just about bouncing back. It's a dynamic journey of adaptation and real growth. Second, your culture, your community, your context. That's not just fluff. It is an absolutely essential source of your strength. And maybe the most hopeful part of all this, resilience isn't a fixed trait you either have or you don't. It's a potential that you can actively build and strengthen your entire life.
And that really leaves us with one final, powerful thought. If resilience truly is a journey and not some final destination we have to reach, well, that kind of begs a personal question for all of us, doesn't it? Where are you on your path today?